So Drake released his album For All the Dogs last week.
Yes, sir. Yes,
And
sir.
coming into the album, there were quite a few things to address. He's talked about this will be his last album, and he's going to take a little hiatus from music. He also is one hit away from Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And the speculation was that this album was going to be more rap than the mix between R&B that he's known for.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's a lot of beef coming with it. Not beef, but criticism that has come with the album.
Criticism. Yeah,
controversy, criticism, whatever input that word that you want in there. But it's a lot of it.
It's a lot of it.
It's a lot of it. And so Drake has fired back at his criticizers. Sticks, how you feel about this whole situation? I know I said a lot there, so I'll break it down for you. How do you feel about him being one hit away from number one hit away from Michael Jackson? Then two, how do you feel about the criticism and him and his team firing back at the criticizers?
All right. So to your first question, brother, I feel like it's dope for him to be one hit away from passing Mike on the number one hits on the Billboard charts. I think it's dope.
Tying him, right? Not
tying him. You're right. Tying him. You're right. Tying him. I think it's dope because all in all, Drake is an amazing artist. Drake is an amazing performer. Drake has made amazing music collectively over his career. I mess with Drake. I mess with Drake in his music.
Yeah, we like Drake.
We like Drake. We fuss with Drake. I fuss with Drake.
Yeah.
The best thing that's coming out of this though is that our boy J. Cole from the crib is most likely going to get his first number one Billboard chart for first person shooter, which he did with, and that's best song on the album by far to me.
Easily.
Not even a question.
Best song on the album.
In my opinion, best song on the album by far. Because listening to the album, because again, I drive an hour and a half to work every day, Monday through Friday, most times an hour and a half depending on traffic. And I had a chance to listen to this album front to back on the way to work. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about it. Then I listened to it again on the way back home after work. And I was like, still don't really know how I feel about it. Cause the album didn't start until First Person Shooter, which is the 6th track on the album. The first 5 tracks, ass to me, in my opinion, the first 5 tracks were ass to me. First Person Shooter came on, rocking, going crazy. Because J. Cole has been on a tear when it comes to features after his last album that he dropped, on a rampage, killing everybody's songs.
Right.
It makes no sense how crazy he's going right now. And we're going to talk about that in a second when we get into the next part of this. So it's excited to see our boy J. Cole possibly about to get his first number one hit. And it's crazy that this is his first because he's made so much good music that he hasn't had a number one so far. So that's crazy to me. Yeah. But I know why you did that. I get it. But
why do you think I did that?
Because why I think you did that is because he's contending against so many other artists that have more of a profile than Cole. So like your Beyonce's of the world, your Taylor Swift's of the world, your Drake's of the world, your people who have a higher profile and kind of I ain't gonna say caught up, but they're more mainstream and they go at different.
Okay.
There you go.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the first part of it because I thought the album in itself as a whole was very mid. Me being perfectly honest, and I mess with Drake. This is nowhere close to any. This is not anywhere close to contending with any of his top albums to me, because there were only out of 26 tracks, maybe 3 or 4 that I would say I would rock with. But nowadays, that's a good album. To be perfectly honest with you, nowadays that's a good album. Right. But now to get into the second part of that, as far as the controversy, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the Joe Budden situation, and then go into a little bit of the beef that he's having that people are saying with Rihanna, because he's saying he was taking shots at Rihanna this whole album. And he's been taking shots at Rihanna a lot over his music, to be honest. But Joe Budden came out and said that he had to go back and check and see how old Drake was because he's making music for children. He's making music for the kids, and he was like, "Bro, you need to. You're 30. You're about to be 37 years old at the end of this month. you need to make adult music, but you're making music for 20 and 25-year-old children. Because he mentioned J. Cole in that situation where he grew up in the game. He talked about losing his virginity. He talked about not having any role models growing up. And then now he's making music for grown folk. He was like, Drake is making music for children out here in the streets. And Drake had something to say about it. Had a long paragraph that he put on Instagram, was talking about how he was a failed rapper and now he's in the podcast game because that's what he had to fall back on because, he wasn't a rapper that he, set out to be. And Joe Budden was like, bro, you'll grow up someday. And you can kind of see even in Drake's appearance that he's conforming to a lot of different things in the industry. So I think a lot of the things that has been said about him, the controversy that is swirling around Drake is valid, to be perfectly honest. But we're going to see where it goes. What you think, bro?
So as far as him being one hit away from tying Michael Jackson, I think that's well deserved. It speaks to not only the quality of music that Drake has historically made, it speaks to the longevity of Drake and his career.
Truth.
It also speaks to his ability to adapt to the different styles of music that have come along in his career. So I think that's great. I think he's deserving of that. As far as the controversy and for the criticisms of the album, my initial feelings were the criticism was warranted. Because the album to me again is very mid. It's clearly not an album for me. It's not the album that I think the masses intended or thought it was going to be. Like I said in my intro to this segment, I feel like everybody thought it was going to be more of the rapping Drake rather than the singing and rapping Drake, or making music for women and kids.
Because I expected that joint to be a la Take Care, Nothing Was the Same, Thank Me Later. I was thinking I was getting that Drake, but no. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
I mean, no. I expected it to be, what was the last song on his album with 21 Savage that everybody plays?
Let me go look at that.
I expected it to be more of that. I expected it to be more of that song, for First Person Shooter with him and J. Cole, the whole album rather than one song.
Circo Loco?
Nah. The last song, it's the last song on the Certified Lover. Is it Certified Lover Boy? No. This is the album with him and 21 Savage, that joint album that they have.
It's called Her Loss, but the last song was I guess it's Fuck Me. That's the last song on the track.
That ain't it. Okay. It's you know what I'm saying if you played it. But anyway, I expect it to be that song, or if we can't specifically name that song, I expect it to be more of the First Person Shooter type of music rather than what we got. But again, that's how I felt. That's the type of music that I like to listen to when I'm anticipating a type of album from some of my favorite rap artists. That's not what we got. And as far as him going back at Joe Budden for the criticism that Joe Budden had, it wasn't even like Joe Budden said he appreciated the album. He liked the album. But then he said everything that you said as far as what he thought the album was going to be and what he sees coming from Drake as of lately. I feel like Drake feels like he's too big to be criticized. And it goes against what we said earlier as far as professional athletes always, may be a bit sensitive to the fact that people are criticizing them and they see so much criticism on an ongoing basis or praise on an ongoing basis. So when somebody of the type of status that a Joe Budden or a Hall of Fame athlete gives them, they go off of them deep end. On this in this element, on this situation, I feel like Drake feels like he's too big to be praised because not only, I mean, I'm sorry, to be criticized because not only did he come back with some criticisms of Joe Budden, which were facts to a degree, but I don't think you can say somebody's a failure when they go from Pump It Up was a, I mean, I think everybody knows what Pump It Up is. He didn't have the type of career that Drake has had, but he did have a hit song. He did spend some time in the industry, and now he has the number one podcast in the world, basically, is in the pop culture hip hop space, right?
And
So
I ain't
I
gonna
don't think
hold
you.
you. I listened to a lot of those mood musics because Joe Budden to me was a very lyrical rapper. He wasn't a
Yeah,
bad rapper. He didn't have the
yeah.
career he probably wanted to have, but Joe Budden was a good rapper. I fucked with
He
Joe
didn't
Budden a
have the
lot.
machine behind him that Drake had. And when I
Very
say the
true.
machine,
Very
like
true.
Drake is
Very true.
all marketing. I'm not going to say Drake is not a good artist because he definitely is.
But it's very marketable though. Yeah.
He is an artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I say artist, he's not, like you said, Joe Budden is lyrical. Like Drake can get lyrical, even though it's not always his pen that does the lyrics. But he also can give you that entertainment aspect of it with the singing. He acted briefly before he got into it. So he
Very,
has all
very
of that going
theatrical.
for him.
Very
Yeah, he has
theatrical.
all that going for him. And that wasn't necessarily Joe Budden. But I believe now that Joe Budden's in this new space of podcasting, he's understanding all of that and what it takes to make yourself be the type of acts that are the Michael Jacksons of the world, or the Drakes of the world, so those type of people, except he's doing it now in podcasting. But so not only was that criticism, I think the reason I say I feel like Drake is too big, he feels like he's too big to be criticized because not only did he come back with criticisms, his dad also comes back with criticisms. Various members of his team come back with criticisms of different people that are criticizing the album. So I feel like this is him in a way saying, orchestrating, all right, we don't want this type of negative publicity, even though it looks like it's working in his favor. We don't want this type of criticism, so let's combat this. So that's how I feel about it. I feel like the number one song being one away from MJ, well deserved. I think the criticisms of the album are deserved, in my opinion. But then also his criticisms of individuals, he has every right to do what he feels he needs to do for his career, but I feel like he should not feel so big that he can't listen to what everybody says, because realistically, if you listen again to the one that he put his energy into responding to, he really wasn't being very critical of the album. He was just Joe Budden, that is, was talking about, he needs to grow up in the game. And then I have something else too that I'll say shortly.
What you got?
So Stephen A. Smith made me, and the reason why I said my initial thought of this situation of the album and how I felt about it and how Joe Budden said he felt about Drake needing to grow up, I originally felt like it was warranted criticism, but Stephen A. Smith on his podcast, which is self-proclaimed Stephen A. Smith podcast or Stephen A. Smith show, he says that Drake, while the music is for younger kids, isn't that what we all do? Don't we all try to appeal to the younger audience to some degree, because the younger audience gives you more shelf life? And then so I started to think about it. I don't know how many times on this podcast I said that corporations, they try to appeal to kids because not only do you get an ongoing customer, so you'll have a kid for life if you're a good product, but you also have more shelf life with the fact that they'll be willing to spend continuous money on you, which is why Apple is who they are, because they have generations. The younger generation, most of those want iPhones and Apple products. And then our generation wants Apple products because we grew up in that generation. We grew up when Apple took off and they first came out with the iPhone. And so now we always got to have the iPhone, or we always got to have those type of products. But as you get older, you don't want to spend your money on so many of those things because you have more responsibilities that you have to take care of. You have more things you have to do. But in Drake's situation, he is basically like a corporation. So, and he does want to keep his shelf life as long as he can. So, appealing to the younger audience, making music for the younger crowd who is more amped to go out every weekend and party and listen to that type of music. That is who he's going to draw to. His appearance is for the younger crowd. Now, it's not for us who thinks that he looks silly and is feminized. It's not for us. It's for them. It's to draw and appeal to them. So and I don't agree with all of that. I don't like how Drake, his appearance is with the barrettes that he has in his head or whatever those those multicolored clips that he have in his head, his fingernails painted. I don't agree with that. Because now, as my kid, he influences a group of kids that will influence my kids as they grow into hip hop and, become to be conscious of who they are and how they want to dress. And now I have to sit down and talk to them about why I don't agree with it and why they shouldn't do that. But we'll get to that bridge when we get to it.
For sure.
Or as we always say, it's a conversation for another day.
Hey.
but I mean, but Stephen A. Smith made me change my stance a bit on how I feel about him making music and trying to draw to a younger crowd, because in the grand scheme of things, we all do it. Even Joe Budden with his podcast, he does it. He tries to draw to a younger crowd because those are the people that may give you more of their time and may give you more of their dollars to receive the content that you have.
That's true, man. And it's, I agree with you in that instance, because that's how, especially us as podcasters or YouTube channels, the older people get, the less they're gonna watch. So we have to appeal to it. At least try to appeal. I know our demographic is 30 to 50 as far as the analytics. A
little bit lower than that now, actually. If you look,
I gotta go back and look. I gotta go back and look. But we're trying to appeal to the generation below us, or a couple of generations below us. Honestly, we're trying to appeal to Sam's generation at some point. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we gotta, so that way our shelf life can be longer. So I mean, we just like a la Stephen A. That is true. We do try to appeal to the younger crowd, so that way we can have have longevity in the game. It's just it is our generation that's looking at the album like, it's not really my type of music. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whenever you got a song in there with Sexy Red, that turned me off from the rest of the album, low key. I ain't gonna lie. Like but she's that type of artist that's gonna appeal to the ones that want to go out and club and listen to that type of music and get lit. That's the type of music that she makes.
Music.
She makes TikTok music, and she does. So I mean, so you have to appeal to that kind of crowd, because that's where the industry is going. It's more short clips and comments and what's what I'm looking for. It's about your Instagram post, TikTok post is all about all of that, and I get it. But
captions and all that.
Captions. There you go. That's why I say that's why you my boy. You might be with me.
Captions, but, and
it's about captions
added to reels and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean he's just into it, he's but that kind of does go back to what we said, because if you think about it, just like you said, when we go back to the Steve Smith and the Jerry Judy situation, do you not think that Jerry Judy has the same thought process as Drake to say, I'm above this criticism?
No, so
just by the way he reacted, you see what I'm saying? So that's all I,
and that's why I said
Drake.
It's different.
Yeah,
and that's why I said in this situation I feel it's different, because Drake. The reason I feel it's different is because not that he responded, but everybody else that was involved with it in the response of the criticism. So he, like I said, he had his dad and various members of his camp. I even think, even though it was in a playful way, I even think Baby and Drewski got involved with the criticism, right? So Drewski was like, Drake took his song and again, this was clearly a skit, and Baby was, but that's all a part of the subtle, air quotes again, response to the criticism. It's like, man, y'all all talking about this and that, but I'm Drake, and realistically, it is Drake. We can all be critical of it, but he still has 3 songs that are fighting and budding for, or is it 2? Budding for number one
yeah,
on Billboard.
3,
You know what
I
I mean?
think.
So
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So maybe he is
And
too big for criticism.
none of those songs are the ones that they're talking about, because even you said Drewski stole his song. You the Pet Shop Boys, the West End Girls part of that song, the Eastern Boys, West End Girls. They even came out and said he didn't come at us; he stole our song. But that's not even one of the songs that's fighting for the top. So
right.
What are you talking about? But go ahead. I ain't mean to cut you off.
No, I mean, it's just maybe he is too big to be criticized, but I mean, nobody's above criticism.
Nobody's above criticism,
especially when it's constructive or when it's rightful criticism. Because if you're not, especially in hip hop, where it seems like, or music in general, where it seems like music is not the same that we used to listen to. So if nobody's criticizing and nobody's saying, all right, listen, I like this, but you could have did that. And if people aren't accepting that, then the music is always going to be stale. And we're, as consumers, are just going to be like, is this what we have to look forward to? You don't really look forward to music anymore. Like the album came out, I knew it was coming out. I was like, okay. And again, I was expecting it to be a rap album, but I wasn't excited. I was like, okay, it'll come out. I'll listen to it when I listen to it.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm into the music. So every Friday I'm going through Apple Music, looking at the browse section. Like, okay, what's new this week? What do I want to check out? What I think it'd be good? And I'll sit there and listen to a whole album if it's an artist that I mess with. So I mean, he's gonna take his hiatus. He said it's for medical reasons. That he's been having some intestinal issues, some problems with his stomach here recently. So he's gonna take time to get that squared away. But this is kind of a la what a lot of artists do anyway. They'll go on a huge tour, drop an album, and take a year or two off. That's been like the norm here recently over the past decade. So it's nothing new for it. It's not above reality that he's going to take a little bit of a break. But I don't think nobody's above criticism. The criticism for the album was warranted because it was very, very mid. And I do feel like, I do agree with Joe Budden. He is making music for younger kids, and I want him to go back to, not even go back to what he did in his first 3-4 albums, but I do want him to get out of this mainstream bullshit, because it's like the industry is changing, Drake, and I do want him to get back to the roots of hip hop and just start making music that the masses is well, no, not even the masses, bro. Because the masses like the bullshit that he making now. Not this, I ain't gonna say bullshit, but it's just not what I expect.
We love the kid. We like Drake. And like you said it earlier. We like Drake, but I mean, my only thing is the singing, the melodic Drake is what he's known for. So that type of music I'm fine with, but it's like to me, I feel like it's no real effort in it for him now. But honestly, when you're him making the type of money that he makes on streams, because he's one of the only artists that makes actual money from streams, and then also from touring, what do we have to do? Because I mean, where's the motivation? Because anything he puts out, people can be like, oh, that Drake coming out, let's play it. Let's, you know what I'm saying? So let's go to Drake concert because of who he is. So
yeah,
I said he feels like he's too big and too above criticism, and it might be true, but you don't want anybody on this planet to feel like they're above anything. So
that's true. Yeah, we'll see what happened with Drake, man. But that shit was mid, bro. Thank you for watching this video. If you made it this far and you like what you see, there's an episode on the screen right here. Make sure you click that and view that. We think you're gonna love it. Also, hit that subscribe button right there. We still got the goal of 450. And when you're on all your streaming platforms, wherever you find your podcast.